Okay, so first of all you will need to preheat your oven to 190 degrees or gas Mark 5 if you're using a gas oven. After doing that, you will need to get one chicken breast and place it on your piece of baking paper. Now what you will need to do is you will need to cut this in half. Now you're not cutting it in half this way, you're going across like this. So just to show you what I mean, so just watch out for fingers. So you should have your chicken breast now in 2 halves. Okay, so something along these kinds of lines. Now what you will need to do here is put your knife to one side. You might want to give your hands a little wash as you've just been touching that raw chicken. After giving your hands a quick wash, what I would suggest you do is just grab yourself a frying pan and put some vegetable oil in there ready for when you start frying slightly later on. Now if you put both of your pieces of chicken on the end of your baking sheet, what you should be able to do is then fold this over like that. Then you're going to need a rolling pin, and you are going to basically put those 2 pieces of chicken between the baking paper and then bash them with a rolling pin until about half their original thickness. You don't need to do this if you're using any of the alternatives, so if you're using tofu, fish, halloumi, aubergine or courgette, you do not need to do this. This is just for if you're using chicken. Now once we do that, we just need to check they're about half their original size. If you don't think they're quite there yet, add a few more. And this shouldn't take you any longer than sort of 2 minutes or so. Now what you will notice is that then the width of the chicken breast has changed, but the thickness has gone down slightly. Okay, after you've done that, put the chicken to one side, and then you want to grab over a small plate or bowl and just pop your flour in there. Then put that to one side. Get your breadcrumbs and put that in another bowl. Again, put that to one side. And you will need another bowl where you're going to crack and beat your egg in. As soon as you've cracked your egg, put your shell in the bin and just use a fork to beat this. You want all the yolk mixed in to the white. Okay, just like that. Put the fork to one side. Now what you're going to need is, you need to start up a bit of a system going here. Okay, so what you're going to want is your egg, your breadcrumbs and your flour to be in a line on your desk. Okay, so from here what you're going to want to do is get your chicken breast. Okay, you're going to start off with this bowl with the flour, and what you want to do is you want to fully coat your chicken in the flour. Okay, so all of the sections of the chicken should be covered like that. Okay, Then it's going to go into the egg. So turn it both sides like that, before then dipping it in the breadcrumbs like that. You want to get the breadcrumbs fully covered all over like that. Okay, repeat the same process for the other piece. Again, same thing, dip it first in the flour all over, then into the egg both sides, before then putting it into the breadcrumbs. From here, what you're going to do is you are going to start turning your hob on. Pop just a couple of breadcrumbs into here alongside your oil, and that's just to help us see when it's ready to start adding your schnitzel to it. Okay, so turn on your hob to a medium heat and just leave that. And what you're going to want to look out for is you want to be looking out for when the oil gets hot, because that's when you're going to start adding it. So look for the sort of sizzle of the oil. You don't want it to be spitting all over the place, but you just want it to be hot enough. Now you want the oil to be all over your pan, so you might need to just lift your pan up so it gets to that point. And when this starts getting hot, that's when we're adding our schnitzel in there. You should be able to see from the video that these parts here are starting to be hot. I can feel that the pan is warming up, and I should be just about in the position to start adding in my schnitzel. Okay, so I'm literally just going to take it up and place it in there. Be careful, because obviously that oil is hot. And then you're going to repeat the same with the other one. If you do more than one chicken breast, it's going to be quite difficult for you to fit these all into the pan at once. So just be mindful of that when it comes to what you're creating. Just be aware that it might take you longer and you might need to change the oil a couple of times if you're cooking maybe for a larger group of people, or if you need to, or if you cut it into smaller chunks or anything like that, you might need a bit of additional space. When this is cooking, you don't need to keep touching it, you don't need to keep fiddling around with it. It should be pretty evident when it gets to the point of being ready to be turned over. So you're doing this for about 2 to 3 minutes. You should be able to tell what is happening with your schnitzel. So it should start bubbling around the edges. You should be able to start smelling it. And you should be able to tell when it starts getting to that golden brown point. You don't want any of these bits of breadcrumbs to start smoking. So if you haven't got enough oil in there, that's what could potentially happen. As it's not going to have what it needs to end up cooking it, it'll just start burning. Now you'll use either a fish slice, which is one of these, to go underneath and turn it over. So if I'm to check this, what I'd just do is just lift up a corner and just check and see what it's doing. So at the moment it's not at the point of being golden brown at all. Now whilst this is doing this, you could start doing some tidying up. So you could start disposing of your chicken, wrappings, that kind of sort of thing, any spare breadcrumbs, etc. Decide what you're doing with them. Washing anything up that you've used, so the knife you may have used, the rolling pin, etc. Start washing those up while they're sizzling. They don't need constant attention. The other thing you can use to turn these with are if you've got some kitchen tongs, okay, and these you can just use to pick up and turn over. So I can sort of tell now that that's pretty much where it needs to be. Turn it over like that. Remember, this is only for 2 to 3 minutes, so this shouldn't be cooking for a long time. You just want a quick frying it off before it goes in the oven. Now remember, when it comes to washing this pan up, this is going to be really hot, so only ever touch the handle of it. You will need to leave this for several minutes to cool before you wash up your frying pan. If the oil starts spitting, please turn it down slightly. You don't want loads and loads of bits spitting up, because that might end up injuring you. Now this side should not take quite so much time, because you've already ended up warming the pan up to a really good temperature. Now we can check it quickly. Yep, I can see that that's pretty much there. Just check this one. Yeah, that one's pretty much there as well. So when you get to this point, turn your your frying pan off, and you're going to need to get a baking tray with a sheet of baking parchment on it. So grab your baking tray, and what you're going to do is you're going to end up taking from here, hold the frying pan handle, take that from there and just place it onto the baking sheet so we can finish this off in the oven. It should take about 5 to 8 minutes in the oven. Just like that. Make sure to label your name sheet if you're cooking in class so that we know whose they are. And I'm going to put this into the oven for about 5 to 8 minutes. Please make sure you're using oven gloves to do that, so you don't end up burning yourself, and ask for assistance for somebody to hold open the door if you need it. Whilst that's happening, then that's your tidying up time. Please make sure you remember to bring a container to take it home in.